Hello, welcome to the second video in the Huey series. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do sling loading and a few ideas on how to help you achieve that. I'm going to whiz through the startup. If you're not sure how to start and you want to learn, if you watch the previous video on the Huey, that will walk you through a step-by-step routine. As soon as I get to the one point, I will slow down. Let's just go down here, low RPM warning. Right, so I'll just give it a little bit of throttle so I can get the engine started. Now the startup routine is no different than before, except for one switch, which is the digital or the radar altimeter. I'll shut the doors as it starts to get a little bit noisier. Wait for the engine to start up. Okay. Right, so we'll be pushing the throttle up as usual until the RPM of the engine and the rotor are synced up around at this point here. Excuse me. Once that's done, I'm going to show you how to switch this device on, which is a digital radar altimeter. That is something that you definitely need on to be able to sling load. As soon as this is started up, I'm going to take off and we're going to fly over here and trim the aircraft so it's quite low level. I'm also going to be showing you some of the switches or the functions that you need to assign to buttons on your joystick, or at least make a note of what keys you require. So as soon as the helicopter's up, I'll escape and go to adjust controls and we'll look at the external cargo. And there's three functions that we need on, which is the external cargo auto unhook, the external cargo hook, and the toggle external cargo camera. Right, so I'll just finish this startup here. And I'll clear the error messages from there. Now one of the things I'll be doing in a minute, I'm going to enable external camera. Okay, so we don't know how high we are properly. There is an altimeter on there. Right, I've just set or switched the camera on. Right, but you've not seen anything. Okay, now that is why you need to ensure that the radar that I mentioned is enabled. If you don't, you're not going to get a camera and you're not going to be able to sling load or anything. So I'm just going to bring the chopper over onto the gridded area of the parking. Just makes it a little bit easier to give you a visual feedback on what the chopper's doing. Bearing in mind we're quite low down to the ground at the moment, so we've got the wash of the propeller hitting the ground and bouncing back up, which gives you the effect of floating on a cushion of air. Right, so that needs to be stable, and I've got to try and kill the drift, so press the trim button. Okay, so it's drifting a little bit, so I'm going to counter that by moving the helicopter right and pull it back just a little bit, trim it, let go of the stick.
User joined your channel.
And that's more or less it. Okay, a little bit more left rudder, and that's pretty stable. So now I'm just going to land here.
User disconnected from your channel.
And then look up here, and this is the switch. You can see the button there, as I'll hover over it, just flick it back once. Now that that is available, we can set the set the high and the low settings for this. So we'll put that to about 50, and we're going to turn this one round to about 150. Okay, so now as I start to lift up, once we clear round about 3 feet, the camera should come on. Let's move back a little bit, and you can see. Okay, and you see the numbers start to increase. Switch the camera on, there it is. As I go down again, the camera will go off. Okay. Now, personally, I find it extremely distracting, but I'm going to leave it on for now, or will do, just to show you what it's used for. We need to call up cargo. We use the radio menu for that, and we hit F6, and we've got different weights. Excuse me. So the weights make a difference to how the helicopter flies. So flying with 220 pounds, which will be the first one we use, is relatively light. It's quite easy, it's the weight of some guy. But if we were trying to pick up 2,000 pounds, that's a whole different ball game. So I'm going to use the 220 pounds to show you the technique and what happens. And after that we'll try and pick up, whether we will successfully or not, the 2,000 pound weight. Okay, so I'm going to select the 220 pounds using F3. Once you've selected it, the menu disappears, and you'll find that there's some red smoke. So let's have a look. I'm going to switch on my axis for you, see what I'm currently trimmed, and the reason why I'm doing that is so you can see the subtlety. There's the red smoke. The subtlety of the movements when you're trying to pick up the cargo. One of the things people tend to do is they don't have the helicopter trimmed. That is the most important button, and switch that off while I fly over there. It's always about trim, 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 trim. I can't stress that enough. The other thing to notice as I'm flying over there, if you see the joystick down on the bottom, and don't let the red box distract you too much, you can see that when you're moving, it's about small nudges. Okay, you need to have full control over the helicopter, and any adjustments are small ones. Alright, if you go just pressing the stick forward really, really fast, then you're just going to lose control. And the trick is, when you go and pick up cargo, what you have to do is hover, and there is a circle around the cargo, and you have to maintain, you have to stay within that circle for a period of time, and you also have to stay level so you're not going up and down. Alright, now the way I do it is basically come up close to where I want to pick up. I let go of my joystick. Remember, I've already trimmed it out. Got my hand on the collective still and the rudder, and I'm just checking to see how stable it is close up. Now I've stop moving forward. I've got wind in this, as you can see. I'm slowly being pushed back, so I've got to allow for that as well. So I can trim that out completely, or I can leave it there knowing that the helicopter will naturally drift back a little bit. Alright, so as I'm getting closer, I've slowed down. I'm just trimming again. Now we're moving forward. Right, now the hook, let me show you where the hook is before I actually go and try and pick the cargo up. We just nip outside and have a look. The hook is directly under the rotor blade, so you can just see it under there, right in the centre of the helicopter. If we move around, we can see it's also bang in the centre there. Alright, and it's directly underneath where the rotor blade is, which is where it's going to have its maximum weight, or the ability to pick up the maximum weight. Now that is basically just behind this bulkhead in there, so that's where the hook is. So when I'm hooking, I'm looking at this console, and I'm trying to position it over the area I need to be, and bearing in mind that the rotor is behind me and over my left shoulder. Right, so now we're going to go over. I'm going to switch the camera back on, And the reason for the camera is to give you a top-down view of the cargo. Now, like any gauge or instrument, if we spend our time looking at that top-down view on the top right, we're going to get into difficulties. Now, I also find it personally very annoying. It's on my peripheral vision, it's moving around, and it's a distraction. However, when you first start, it might be an idea to try it just so you can get a feel for where the cargo is in the helicopter. So I'm totally ignoring it at the moment. Now, I have a tendency to get over the cargo and be fairly stable and pick it up quite quickly, which isn't always helpful, but unfortunately it's always the same. Now, you'll see a message as soon as I'm over the cargo. If I drift outside that circle or I'm moving up and down, then it basically lets me know that I'm outside the zone. You'll see the cargo appear in a minute on the camera. Or should I say, you should see the cargo. There it is, slightly left. So I'm slightly over to the right. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to actually, once you've lost sight of it, you can't see the cargo. And when you're too close to it, there it is. So it's a good idea to back away a little bit, position it where you want it, and then very gently with those nudging movements hover up over it, and all of the control axes are being used all at the same time. So there it is to my right, so I need to come a little bit right. I need to hook my auto hook, and it tells me I've already hooked it. That's one of the problems I always get. It always tends to be a little bit too quick. As you start drifting outside, as you saw then by the way the cargo went up to about 60 feet, so I've got to watch my height, otherwise I'm going to be destroying the cargo. Okay. Now if we flick outside again, you see the cargo on the bottom. If I drag that round the floor, it's going to be damaged and no use to anybody. So I'm going to go and take it over here and then get rid of it. The auto unhook will basically unhook it as soon as it touches the floor. I don't want to be moving too fast forward. If I start flying erratically, that cargo is going to swing about. Now, as I said, it's only 220 pounds, so it's not that bad, right? When I try and pick up the bigger one, I'm going to purposely swing the cargo around just so you can see what the effect is. Okay, so I'm watching my height. I don't want to come down vertically, I still want to have some sort of movement. Okay. So I need to be round about 60 to be able to drop that off. If it gets dragged on the floor, then we've got a problem. I'm going to move over here a little bit, because it makes it easier to see and hopefully it doesn't drop through the floor. Okay, so it should drop it, there you go. So now if we look around, hopefully we've dropped the cargo off and it's not damaged, there it is. Now I can call that back up on the radio and select it and pick it up again, but I'm not going to. We're going to go for the heavier one, alright? Now, sometimes the cargo is hidden on the map, you're not going to see it until you get close enough, and then once you've seen it, you'll see it on the map. That's where the red smoke comes in, and no one else can see the red smoke, only you, once you've selected that cargo. So go and pick the heavier cargo up, which is £2,000. Okay, now I do not remember what the weight limit is for slinging. Okay, there is a weight limit, and the way this helicopter performs will change. You should hear differences in the engine, and if I don't fly as smooth as I should, you'll probably see the helicopter swing around at the same time as the load is slinging. So I'm looking for the red smoke at the moment, which is why I'm going round. I wonder where it is. If anybody sees it, shout out. we should see it in a minute. There we go. Right, okay, we're quite high at the moment. So no one else, as I said, will see that smoke. No one else can select that cargo. Oh, look, there's a ridge there I've got to be careful of. So the idea of this basically is just to see the effect that the weight will have. So I need to come low down. Now remember, if you watch the other video, you've got to be really careful about the vortex ring effect. I'm not going to explain it now. You can Google that, or again, check the other video out, and I do discuss that and mention it there. So I need to turn around. Okay. And I need to make sure that the helicopter's nice and stable. I'm just going to take my hand off. Now you see we've still got quite a bit of motion. I'm going to try and counter that by moving in the opposite direction of the motion. So once it's slowed down, I just let go now, and you see the helicopter's got a little bit of forward motion, nothing too bad. So as I get in close, see the controls being moved all the time. I'm going to trim it there. Okay, it's fairly stable. So we've also got a bit of wind. So I'm going to turn my nose round into the wind. Now I have got track IR, which I'm not using at the moment. You don't need it. It's always very good to allow you to look around. There's other devices as well. So we're going to move in for this. Now I might not be able to pick it up, it might be too heavy, but we'll see. So I'm moving forward, I'll put the camera on, so that you can see the top down. And so I do gentle nudges again, let it stabilise. Hover over the target, which is just under my front. If I hit it, I damage it. If I drag it around the floor, I damage it. If I drop it too hard, I damage it, right? So there's lots of opportunities to damage the cargo. I'm in the area, hover, hold it steady, booked it. Now let's see. When you take off, you need to move up there. Did you see that biting then? But it's not letting me get up. Can you hear the engine? That is heavy, right? So you can see this helicopter. Let's look at the cargo. There it is, right? And I tell you now, even though I haven't got a force feedback stick, can you hear the pitch in the engine, in the rotor? That is a load and a half. Now if I'm not careful, right, it's going to drag me down. So if I fly right now really erratically, this weight is going to swing, and not only does it swing, it's going to pull me in the direction that it's swinging. Now whether I'll actually get it to the floor safely or not, I'm not too sure, because the minute I start coming down, it's going to sort of help me on the way down, and as I said, it's extremely heavy. As a consequence, I'm likely to plummet. If I do, well, fair enough. If I don't and actually do it successfully, that'll be a bonus. So that means the video will end either with me crashing or me successfully dropping off a £2,000 cargo. But as I said, I've got to be really, really careful. Oh yes, see what I mean? There you go, look at that bugger. Right, okay, so basically what I was trying to illustrate there is the difference. Let's get away from these. Is the difference that the weight of the cargo applies to the performance and the weight of the helicopter. So if you are setting yourself up a mission, really you don't want to get up to £2,000. It's just too heavy. So the first one I did was 220. If you set yourself up with 220, 440, 500, maybe £1,000, you'll be absolutely fine. Once you start getting up into the high numbers, it's just like trying to fly with a rope attaching you to the floor. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you out a little bit. If there's any questions, please put them in the space below. If you want to see anything else, I will be doing one on the weapon system shortly. If you need to see anything else, or you've got anything, either visit my Twitch channel, which you'll see linked, or post the questions on here. Thank you for watching.